and welcome to my little breakdown of XYO. A quick little disclaimer is I wanted to wait a good while until my teeth actually came in before I made this video, but I've seen so many choppy videos out there. I figured I'd give you guys a whirl of what I see and how I see XYO going. So with that being said, we'll hop right into it. Welcome. I appreciate you guys tuning in, and bear with me, please. It's been a long time since I've done this. Last time I did it, I actually had teeth, and I was able to do this very confidently. But today it's a little bit different. But, wow, XYO. Where do we begin? Well, where XYO began was in a little boardroom, very, very little bit bigger than this room, most likely. I have no idea. I've only been on the project for about a year. I do not know nobody. But, simply put, they had a vision in mind. And with that vision in mind, they pretty much brought forth the idea of XYO. And with that, we'll pretty much bring the first video I've ever found about XYO. And it just pretty much brings about what their goal was, what they wanted to do with the network that was in front of them, and what they set out to do with proof of origin.
Cryptocurrency smart contracts automatically execute contractual obligations, cutting out the middleman. These smart contracts have one downside. There's no single authoritative and decentralized way to execute a contract based on locational data. For example, there's no way to create a smart contract that allows for payment on delivery for e-commerce orders. The XYO network is meant to solve this problem. It's an ecosystem of devices which communicate with one another to create an unalterable history of interactions and locations stored on a blockchain. A user can independently verify that an item tracked using the XYO network was in a defined place at a specific point in time. Since XYO network devices talk to each other, every user augments the other. A delivery driver can help find your lost bike, or your parked car can help confirm your neighbor's package arrival. Users are rewarded with XYO tokens whenever data they provide is used to help another user track or locate an item. Thanks to a unique proof of origin algorithm, the provided data is always valid and up to date. The XYO network, bringing the blockchain to the real world.
Alright, so with that being said, what they pretty much did was they took this and went to everybody, pretty much everybody, and just wanted to bring out what they can bring to the network, what they can actually bring to society and everybody. And they didn't really get a good strong foothold. A lot of people turned them away saying, well, we really don't believe in blockchain technology. We really don't see it taking foothold. Well, XYO wasn't letting that stop them. They honestly did not let that stop them. So they sat back down at the little boardroom and they discussed a little bit more on how they can actually bring the people to the network. And this is where the next video pretty much comes into play.
Hey there, my name's Tyler, coming at you from XYO Labs out here in Southern California. Today we want to make a quick video on showing anyone, new and existing geominers, just the fundamentals of the Coin app and the basics to geomining. So, without any hesitation, let's get on to it. So, what is the Coin app? It's a free app that you can download at the App Store that allows you to start earning and collecting cryptocurrency as you're out exploring the world. And it's super easy to get started. To start collecting, have the app open and running on your phone. All you have to do to start mining is hit the pickaxe button right in the middle of your screen to geomine the cryptocurrency. And we have integrated a feature to where this thing will automatically collect for you. Press the auto collect button right underneath the pickaxe. It's going to collect for you while you're out exploring. This feature makes it possible to mine while you're out walking around, biking, skateboarding, or whatever else you do outside. While you are out exploring the world and mining, you might come across an orange tile. What this represents is a geodrop, and what a geodrop is just an amount of crypto that a different user has dropped for any user to go out and collect. And if you're feeling generous, you can get your own geodrop started. This is all done with the bottom left hand of your screen. Tap that orange symbol and you can choose however much crypto you want to drop out anywhere else in the world. And you can even customize your geodrop by adding a little note to it too. There is one feature that we haven't gone over yet, and that would be Geo Claiming. Geo Claiming is simply just claiming an area and profiting off of anyone that mines inside of that claimed area. If you want to learn more about it, we have a whole video dedicated to it that you can check out on our YouTube channel at Coin With Us. So that basically covers all the fundamentals of mining and using the Coin app. But there is one thing to note though. Once you reach 10,000 XYO tokens in the app, you are eligible to withdraw those tokens, and we will send them straight to your actual crypto wallet. To learn more about withdrawing these tokens and having them in your personal possession, we've made tons of articles on how to exactly do this. You can find them in our help center. The Coin app is completely free to use. You can start mining today. But if you did want to start collecting a little bit more than the base rate, we do have a couple options for you. You can either get the Sentinel. This thing is going to boost all of your collections by 12, or you can actually get one of our subscriptions. You can find out more about how much you can actually collect by visiting coinapp.co/plans. That pretty much covers all the fundamentals about using Coin. Be sure to follow us on social media. We're on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Coin With Us. And you should also check out our Help Center. This is where you can learn all the specific details about each of these features. Have fun mining, and we'll see you next time. Hi there, my name's Tyler, coming at you from the Coin Crew out here in sunny San Diego, California. If you've updated your Coin app recently, you might have noticed a couple changes. We've just released a brand new feature.
It is a little old. I do apologize about the quality of the age of this video, but bear with it.
Geo Claiming. It's similar to renting out a specific spot of land that you're currently standing in. This is, in our case, going to be a 25 by 25 mile square based on your current location. When you put 100 XYO to claim this area, anyone that's using the Coin app to mine and collect, you're going to receive 10% of everything that they collect, because they're collecting on your rented land. You only own this plot of land for a campaign. These campaigns run from Monday to Sunday UTC time. Keep in mind that you are renting this slice of land, so you're not going to get that initial XYO that you spent at the end of the campaign. Boom. I just geoclaimed this area. That means anyone that mines around me using the Coin app is going to have to pay 10% back to me.
But don't forget, there could be multiple owners of a geoclaimed area. Now, everything that's mined on this area is split between us.
Oh my gosh. Now, there could be multiple owners of one geoclaimed area. This would mean that you would be sharing with whoever else has claim on that same space. Now, we're finally going to start geoclaiming here. Open the app and you're brought to the home screen. What you're going to do is tap this purple flag and you're going to be brought to the geoclaiming screen. Add 100 XYO, keep in mind that you're spending this, and boom, I'm already there, and it looks like I'm ranked 19 here. And if you want to learn more about geoclaiming in general, we have this nice little info button that'll take you straight to our help center and where you can learn more. But geohackers, don't limit yourself to one area. You can technically rent anywhere across the globe as long as you're currently standing there. So, please have fun with this new update. We're so excited to bring it on to you. And remember to reach out to us on social media. We're on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And show us exactly where you've geoclaimed around the world. We'd love to see it. But anyways, thank you so much and have fun geoclaiming.
Alright, so you have XYO Network that went to ordinary lengths to actually get out their network, their actual protocol is what we'll keep it at. And what they did was they went to everybody out there and they weren't able to get the foothold. So they built it themselves. They actually came up with a little grant program, and actually I could be wrong 100%, don't get me wrong, but what other crypto projects have done is they've had a grant program out there and they allow other developers to come in and actually build a product for their network. Well, what happened was Coin was actually developed at this moment in time. Well, with the Coin app, they're like, well, what can we verify? Where can we go from verification methods and all these other fun little portions of it? And that's where we come into rewarded play. At first, what you have is a rewarded type of system. And from the rewarded type of system, you have an ad. Well, every application that's on any store as an ad, well, they base the revenue off that. Well, Coin will actually give you back some of that revenue. Well, from there, you actually have a rewarded play system as well, where you can actually go out there and play a game, and Coin makes a profit from that because they're actually getting a referral. Well, they're paying you to help them refer people. All right. Well, now they actually have another one out there where you can actually get surveys, and this is going a little bit too far down the lane and stuff like that. But I can physically walk into a store and scan a product, and I can tell the merchant that your product is front shelf. Your product is on this portion of the store. And as I'm walking around the store is technically getting mapped out as I'm walking around in a short sense of it. As I scan an item, it technically sends a witness or it sends a bound to the network and it allows it to be witnessed. I do apologize for my stuttering and all my miscombobulation, but in the short sense of it, they set up a network, then they actually came up with a program to actually float with the network, giving users a case, a reason to actually work with the application and be rewarded for it. Well, from here, they actually seen the potential for the geo claiming area of it, and that is where this next video goes into, is where the XYO world and the DeFi actually started picking up on XYO world and the actual liquidity of XYO. And this is where it actually gets very interesting.
So, XYO World, what is it? Simply put, it's a way of creating NFTs, non-fungible tokens. XYO World calls them Geo tokens. So we have Geo Claiming, Geo Dropping, and now we have Geo tokens. And these NFTs are things that allow you to manipulate XYO currency in a way that can be beneficial to you. And right now they have a couple of different functions. They can function as a container, which can hold XYO currency. Personally, from what has been shared so far by XY, the only thing that container function serves right now is to hold your currency while you're waiting for your Geo token to unlock. But the real benefit to the XYO Geo tokens is the advertising capability that they have. They have the ability for you to put a small ad that goes up at the bottom of the Coin app in the banner that people can click on and then get to a website and allow you to use your referral program or advertise a business, anything like that. And so again, my motivation for doing this is without the people getting involved in XYO World, it doesn't really have a solid purpose. But with everybody out there, you can not only utilize the Geo tokens to benefit yourself monetarily, but when we get a lot of people into it and it starts working really well, then those Geo tokens themselves start to have value. They become a tradable commodity as well. And Ara, did you want to talk a little bit about some of the other maybe kind of hidden functionality that is present in the Geo tokens that people, including myself, may not be aware of?
Yeah, the Geo tokens, they're built on a ERC 721 based contract for Ethereum, and there are some endpoints in there which aren't really exposed on the website just yet. Some are actually exposed on there, but they're not enabled. I think you mentioned before that depositing XYO into the token doesn't seem to work on the website. I thought actually I'd fixed that a little while ago, but I can check again. There wasn't a big demand for it, so it didn't really matter. But there's also functionality to be able to deposit any sort of an ERC20, not just XYO, into it, which is not exposed on the website right now. And you also can deposit ERC 721s into it, or little data packets you can put into there as well. One of the downsides, obviously, with that being crypto or being Ethereum based and smart contract based, is it's pretty expensive from a transaction standpoint to do it. So if every time you want to update 256 bits worth of data in your token, it costs you $2 or $3. It's going to get pretty expensive after a while to build a whole website in a token, right? It's one of the reasons why just putting a hash in there from a website or from IPFS hash and that has a website inside of it would be a better way to do that. But even in that case, every time you update it, you have to pay for that the change of that. You have to wait for it to actually go through the process of being put on the blockchain. So it's not hugely effective at the current gas prices to be able to use some of those functionalities for things that you could in a world where price friendly environment would allow you to do that. But the idea is that making this sort of a data structure that people can use, like Coin can use or other people can use to be able to make interesting things work and be able to have ownership reflected in there or data relationships reflected in there. Um, I think long term is going to be valuable on things like Ethereum and the blockchain there. But like everything so far, it's just going to take some time for us to actually get there because of gas prices, because Ethereum 2.0 is taking a long time to get out there. That's one of the reasons why also I just want to mention, the way we structured XYO World, we didn't launch it with a lot of fanfare. We didn't have a lot of marketing behind it. We kind of just put it out there to see what would happen. And we structured it in a way where it's not meant to be a product for XY, the persistent company. We don't make money off it. It's not like there's not a fee that we get for a token that gets auctioned off or that sort of thing. All that happens is the XYO kind of moves around. Some XYO gets burned at when a person buys a Geo token, so that reduces the supply of XYO. But the rest of it is a zero sum game, and so whenever you buy Geo tokens, the people above you in the world, as far as the levels go, and the zoom level goes, they get a portion of that back, and that's how the game basically. You can look at the metagame to figure out which ones to buy and which ones to not buy to be able to get a larger portion of that zero sum there. We will be adding additional value to it by putting some coin or some other drops into XYO World, which would actually expand the value of it. But as a company, XYO is not taking, or XY, the persistent company, is not taking any value out of that ecosystem at this point at all. And it's structured in a smart contract in such a way where at least we can't, we can't remove anything out of there. So it was really meant to be a sandbox really for XYO going forward.
Okay, great. All right, so getting onto the Geo tokens, and I've put a link over here to how you get to.
Alright, so we're going to stop right there because this is where it gets really interesting to me in a sense of it. Okay, so they built this off of the XYO network. They utilize it with XYO coin. They call it coin. I call it XYO coin. There's a difference. We'll run down that rabbit hole a lot later. Trust me. This is a pretty long video, and I apologize for it. But like I said, the other videos just don't do XYO justice. XYO needs a true voice, and honestly, oh, the rabbit hole goes deep with this one. But anyways, the moral of the story is they built and they built and they built, and even on this last stage that you just heard him say, XYO isn't making nothing. It's decentralized for the user. Well, this next portion of where they're going off in auctions, this kind of stipulates where my rabbit hole comes in later, but we will carry on to that in a portion of it. But in the sense of it, XYO Geo Claiming ties into XYO World, and even the coin app, as they stated and as I've proven, you get that advertisement. Well, that's one level of many levels, as he even stated. Already states there's many levels that you don't see on the web page. Sorry, it bugs me. I hate my mic dragging. But anyways, moral of the story is these are just short goals that they've accomplished, trying to show the world their worth. And people aren't really, they keep going over the same stuff over and over, and I keep shaking my head like we need somebody out there to say we can do not better, but we as a community can build something better. um, but anyways, this is where XYO World gets interesting, and this is where I really see the, we'll just call it the metaverse. I have a completely different understanding of it, but this is where the metaverse technically takes off. This is the liquidity. These are people putting money into XYO World, and there are certain rules before you can touch it, and we won't go into that today. We'll actually be doing this stream once a week, Saturday, Sunday, something like that. We haven't quite determined it yet. We will by the end of the stream, or the cast, whatever you want to call this, but this is where it gets interesting, is in the world part, because I see so much more, and it actually, the next video after this one explains the more, but in a short sense of, we'll get right back into this video and stuff like that about how to auction it and what actually is taking place on the world aspect of XYO Network. So without further ado, here's the auctioning portion of XYO World and how to get your own little stake in this phenomenal network that nobody knows about. They know about XYO, they know about a little bit here and there, but they really don't go down this rabbit hole, the NFT portion of what is liquidity, what is putting my money into a network and saying stay. And this is where it goes into from here. So let's go into it.
XYO World right over there on the right hand side of the screen. And so now we're just going to kind of go through exactly how XYO World works. So when you go to XYO or world.xyo.network, then you'll end up with a screen that looks like this right here. Okay, and there's several buttons on here, and it can be a little bit daunting to look at first. And but each one of these blocks here in the middle, where my cursor is pointing, is telling you what the status of all the Geo tokens that are out there that are active right now is. So all the auctions that are going right now, I don't use this very much. The second one, live auctions, the ones that are up for bidding currently. The Dutch auctions, these are auctions that are no longer being bid on but didn't get minted because nobody bid on them, and so they've gone into a pile of Geo tokens that can be minted without competing for them. You can just sift through them and find one that you like and just mint them right away. Completed auctions are auctions that have somebody has won them through the bidding process but has not minted them yet. That has some interesting function to it. And then minted auctions over here on the very end are ones that somebody's bid on and minted and now essentially owns.
All right. So, with that all being said, this is where the next video really comes into play at. This is the time. It truly is. Just based off what they've already mapped out themselves, not counting what the community is, what normal communities build upon the network and stuff like that. If you normally go to a different network, usually you have somebody building a wallet here, a marketplace there, a place of origin in a short sense of this network. And this is where the community really needs to step up to make this video or this little segment really stand out. It's really up to the community, because XYO is doing a phenomenal job bringing forth what they have visioned already.
There's never been anything quite like this. A new era where humans and machines codify their relationship with one another to leverage each property of their natural strengths and reshape every detail of their world, where we go from city development to self-developing cities, from package delivery to autonomous drones, from ride-sharing to self-driving, from contracts signed with ink to ones executed with cryptography, from mapping the world to the world mapping us. We are entering a new era. Land was the raw material of the agricultural age. Iron was the raw material of the industrial age. Data was the raw material of the internet age. And now we have blockchain, the raw material of the decentralized age. Yet this time around, things are different. World leaders are taking notice. Everyone has a say. The decentralized age is a bad time to be a control freak. At XYO, we're bringing blockchain to the real world by combining the realm of location data with the power of blockchain. So we'll always know what happened, where it happened, and why it happened, making our lives safer and smarter, giving us more time for what we love and less time for what we don't. The technology we're building today will power the world of tomorrow. And though the future is unknown, one thing is crystal clear. It's only just begun.
Honestly, XYO has laid out a huge, huge GitHub for us. Honestly, this thing is huge. Have you seen the things you can actually build? And they're still updating 3 hours ago, 5 hours ago, 5:23 yesterday, a week. Like, they're so actively building, it is ridiculous. That's why it's up to the community, and oh, I go off for days on what you can do with the XYO network. Like, everybody just keeps repeating it, but let's go into the gaming aspect of it. Just the gaming aspect of it. Okay, so we have a network right here. Boom, network. We have a city right here. Okay, boom. We have an NFT overlooking both of them. All right. Now we have an oracle, or in this, a sentinel, running around actually verifying cities. All right. So now, if a road is getting construction on it, you can actually have a sentinel tell the other sentinel, hey, this bridge needs to update it to the actual activist. That sends it over to the diviner that this road is actually being developed on. Okay, boom, it gets sent up there to the next leg of the network. Okay, we're talking gaming. Like I said, this rabbit hole runs deep. We're talking GitHub. GitHub is about every type of development out there. It's not just saying you're stuck. It's saying, who wants to build on something like this? Alright, so, anyways, like I said, this rabbit hole will run deep by the end of time. Like I said, we still have another good little video for you. So, you have a developer looking at XYO World as an actual gaming aspect, the developing portion of it, where I can randomly, instead of build a city on my game, I can just go fetch a city on my game. So now I can just go fetch XYO World, figure out what the Sentinels have actually developed in the sense of a roadmap, building here, building there, and actually gain a sense of base layer to build on a game. Because each city is different, no code would write itself the same. So in a sense of it, no code, that takes you years. Look how long it actually took them to... GTA is honestly, what, 5-6 cities? It's been a long time since I've played it, don't get me wrong. Look at any game, they're centrally located. There is no world involved. Well, XYO World would bring that gaming aspect to it where, hey, you want to go steal a car in London and actually play in London? Boom, there you go. Oh, you want to actually jump over to, name it, Las Vegas. Let's steal a car in Las Vegas and actually have a map of Las Vegas instead of sending out a development team to actually look in the landscape and blah, blah, blah. You have a network doing that for you. This is the XYO network, and we are nothing but geolocating data. If you actually look in geolocation, what is that about? Governments can look into this data to see where the traffic is flowing to actually figure out what roadways to repair. You're looking at an aspect of more than one direction. You look at Bitcoin. That's a savings account. People put money into it. Oh, that's a dream. It's a savings account. Look at Algorand. Yeah, okay, that one is an actual banking system where you put money in, it does use it to transact, just like Chase Bank. But once again, we're going down the wrong rabbit hole. The moral of the story is, with XYO World and the Sentinels, they could be building onto a gaming platform, and that's where we really go into the next leg of it. As you got API location, you got heat map. Well, that one's not really right there, but teaser. But anyways, the moral of the story is there is so much more to what is brought forth, and nobody is actually looking at it more than just an IoT device, as this next one kind of goes into it. It's good,
Get there first.
but
For starters, Microsoft already has a suite of products that let companies create what are called digital twins. These are basically virtual representations of physical objects, like manufacturing equipment. But it's not enough to just have a 3D model of a factory. Companies want to know what each piece of equipment is doing, how much energy the plant is using, and when the latest batch of products will come off the line. This is all part of the Internet of Things that was very trendy a few years ago, but never quite found a foothold with the everyday consumer, aside from maybe a smart thermostat here or there. But in a business context, these metaverse concepts can prove remarkably useful. Once real-time factory data is syncing with the digital twin, companies can start analyzing performance metrics and even build automated systems to further increase efficiency. Where this gets interesting is when employees go and actually see the digital twin data while walking around the physical world. This is made possible by augmented reality, like Microsoft HoloLens, although interestingly, Microsoft isn't particularly tied to that particular piece of hardware. As I mentioned before, Microsoft is moving away from a single computing platform and wants to work everywhere. That's why you can use Teams to chat with coworkers on a MacBook, and you can also stream Gears of War to your iPhone. Microsoft isn't interested in locking you into a piece of hardware, and that's going to be a big advantage going forward. So, Microsoft is basically attacking Zuckerberg on two fronts. They've got an excellent foothold with business users, and they're building a massive empire over in gaming. Zuck is getting really beat up right now, but he seems to be doubling down anyway. So let's find out why. Predicting the future is hard, really hard. If you can do it well, you'll quickly become massively wealthy. There's a problem though. Sometimes you can see the future clearly and still not be able to execute a winning strategy. That's what happened to Bill Gates nearly 3 decades ago. The year was 1995, and Bill Gates was riding high. Everyone was buying PCs, Windows was revolutionizing workplaces, and Microsoft was on track to become the most valuable company in the world. So Bill stood on stage and mapped out what he thought would come next.
This industry will be at the center of all of it. With its software innovation, its competitive hardware, will be shaping this so-called information highway.
He was talking about the internet, and even though we quickly stopped using the phrase information highway to describe it, Bill nailed a few key predictions.
We call it the wallet PC because it's capable of really replacing everything that you carry with you, so that getting messages, seeing the latest news, seeing different location, keeping track of your schedule.
That sounds an awful lot like a smartphone to me, and Bill didn't stop there. He also explained how cars would have large displays with real-time maps, how customers would purchase things with their phones, and how homes would have smart controls. These predictions basically all came true, but oddly enough, not because of Microsoft. Even though Bill explained exactly how a smartphone should work, Microsoft has never been able to gain market share against Apple and Google. And the same is true for maps, payments, and even the smart home. Google and Apple are dominant in those areas, with Microsoft usually a distant third. So what does this mean for Zuckerberg and his plans to build the metaverse? Well, that Bill Gates presentation shows that even when your predictions about the future are correct, it doesn't necessarily mean that you'll win. It's entirely possible that everything Zuck has laid out will come true. We'll all be wearing VR headsets and interfacing in virtual worlds, but Meta could wind up having nothing to do with it. Microsoft missed the mobile internet revolution because they were too focused on the Windows operating system. Once Satya Nadella decoupled Microsoft from Windows, the company could become more agile and could really start competing in new industries. There's still one question though. When will the metaverse actually arrive? In order to answer
we'll get to that one here really soon, because I think that one actually really plays into the XYO network and where they don't really, it's not their focus. It isn't. That's the community in my eyeballs. That's people that they go to, partners, and everything else is option to go to in a short sense. But how I look at it though is it's very hard for the community to go forth if they don't know what is in front of them. Well, it is very easy to know what this is as a coder, as I can actually look up this and actually see that it is relatively going to, like say the archivist, it's a simple one, honestly. It's just reading out information. It's collecting and sending. It's simple. It truly is. But what people don't understand is if you don't know how to tie these together, as we're going to go down the deep little rabbit hole, XYO has tried every which step that they have, and now XYO 2.0 has came out. And this is where everything just, it took everybody for a loop. It truly did. And this is the biggest developing out there in a short sense of it. I can technically run and report a hash, just like any other network. Not to really run down the rabbit hole too far, but most networks that are on the block really go through it like simply. They have an application that allows you to run. Oh, that should never close. Yeah, my dock is still running. Anyways, you see how easy that is for me to turn on that node for some random little blockchain that nobody should really care about. It's good network and everything else, but it's taken them 3 years to even come out. It is very simple for me to open up a node over here and be like, boom. Well, XYO noticed that with XYO 1.0, and they really noticed that nobody could really understand how to get these origins to communicate with each other. So they came out with XYO 2.0, and it really lets people come down to it. My computer's going real bad, but I did report earlier and all this other stuff. You gotta da 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 da. But anyways, if I go over and actually look at my queries and stuff, I can see where I get pulled at. Where's my information coming from? This is my house. Like, well, actually, this is the one next door. I kind of like having fun around my neighborhood. Anyways, you can actually create bound witnesses. Well, what does this honestly mean? Well, this is on the Explorer. This is a map. I go to the archivist, which actually relays the message and collects the message, because this one relays to the diviner. Well, anyways, like I can actually find more out about the GitHub with the present 2.0 system. So it was a great involvement to it, and it really allowed developers to get a foothold on what they're actually trying to build onto. And with that, it really forces this next video on where I really would like to see XYO go, in the sense of some developing team coming out of the blue and saying, you know, XYO is just perfect for what we see envisioned. And this is what I really would like to see them do, is just come out and actually prevail.
That question, just watch this video next. Thanks a lot.
I do
300 for
apologize.
that and 2,000 for this,
I guess I
way
should
too
have
expensive.
waited
But today I'm going to
till
show you guys how to get all this stuff for a lot cheaper.
Very bad editing job.
Is now
Very bad editing
When you
job.
hear a tech buzzword like the metaverse, it's easy to tune it out as just another marketing stunt. But I think the metaverse actually represents a really important vision for the future of technology. You can't get too hung up on the word metaverse, though, since we probably won't be using that term for long. After all, do you know anyone who refers to the internet as the information superhighway? Obviously not. But many of the predictions about the information superhighway were surprisingly accurate, and I think that we will eventually see the same thing for the metaverse. But the real question is when? When will VR actually be good enough to use for more than a few hours at a time? When will the average person start caring about digital goods? And when will computers become powerful enough to finally create a persistent virtual world? These are tough questions, and it's not as simple as just looking at a particular company's roadmap and estimating when they will ship a specific product. We're talking about an era, so it's best to think of the arrival as the metaverse in terms of a shift in behavior. Just like the internet isn't a single place, but instead a collection of websites, applications, and services that work together, the metaverse just describes a collection of technologies, business models, and interactions that will look very different from today's internet. If we want to try and guess when the metaverse will arrive, we'll need to pinpoint the moment at which the digital world becomes more meaningful to most people than the physical world. Artificial intelligence researchers use the concept of the singularity to describe a moment when technological growth becomes uncontrollable and irreversible. Essentially, once an AI system can improve itself beyond human capabilities, these improvements will start compounding endlessly and create a superintelligence that surpasses all of humanity. That's still a long way off, but if you look at how people interact with the digital world, it feels like the metaverse moment could be right around the corner. Our focus on the physical world has been declining for decades. Work has moved from conference rooms to video calls. Friendships are increasingly formed online through Twitter and Discord communities. And video games are quickly replacing sports as the dominant competitive activity. This trend is more than just our activities, though. It's now about identity and individualism.
Metaverse will be the successor to the mobile internet. We'll be able to feel present, like we're right there with people, no matter how far apart we actually are.
There are lots of people that care deeply about their online personas. Just look at any Instagram influencer, and you'll see a perfectly curated timeline of events portraying an idealized lifestyle. New technologies have been shifting our attention for decades now. The physical world used to be our only option, but then things started to change. TVs pulled a few hours of our attention, then computers took more, and then phones allowed us to bring the digital world with us wherever we went. There are currently 4.6 billion internet users globally. That's more than half of the people on Earth. We're firmly in the internet age now, but only a small fraction of those people are fully immersed in the digital world. A few weeks ago, a crypto founder named Richard turned down a $9.5 million offer for his CryptoPunk NFT. Even though that's a staggering amount of money for a single profile picture, Richard said that the image was now tied to his identity and simply wasn't for sale. This is a perfect example of someone who has already crossed over into metaverse territory. This might sound terrible and dystopian to you, or it might sound amazing and futuristic. The good news is that you'll have a choice. There are still 3 billion people who don't use the internet after all, and plenty of people choose to deactivate their Facebook accounts every single day. Regardless of how the idea of moving into an even more online world makes you feel, it's still worthwhile to try and predict when this might happen. When will we see billions of people fully immerse themselves in digital spaces? In order to estimate when it will be apparent that the metaverse has arrived, we need to lay some ground rules, because I've seen a lot of heated debates on this topic. First, we need to agree that the metaverse describes a future state and it isn't already here. I've seen a few people argue that Second Life or Roblox are already metaverses and we should just stop the discussion there. It's great to look at these two games as examples of what's possible, but neither are fully immersive. The metaverse will obviously build on top of what Second Life and Roblox have done, and I wouldn't be surprised if Roblox in particular plays an essential role in the metaverse going forward. But it's just not fair to say that the metaverse is already here and call it a day. After all, we had cell phones in the 1980s, but no one claims that the mobile era started then. The average person in the 80s didn't even have a laptop, and real smartphone innovation wouldn't pick up until the mid-2000s. We also need to agree that the metaverse is possible, and that it'll only happen if people actually like it. Mark Zuckerberg isn't exactly the most popular guy in tech these days, and plenty of his detractors have said that they would never use products created by Facebook, or the rebranded Meta. That's a totally fine position to have. Consumers will always have particular brand preferences. Just look at all the Android versus iPhone debates. If anything, the rivalry between the two major mobile phone operating systems actually helped phones become ubiquitous. No one could stop talking about which phone was best, which drew a lot of attention. The metaverse will be bigger than any one company, and Zuckerberg recognizes this. We're talking about an entirely new computing era here, not just a particular product or service. Making the metaverse a reality will require a collection of technological advances. Virtual reality and augmented reality have to get better. Systems and networks need to start talking to one another, and the internet clearly needs to get faster. But all of that is possible. We're not talking about crazy brain computing interfaces here like Elon Musk's Neuralink, or plugging into something that perfectly recreates the Matrix. All of the ideas laid out in Ready Player One seem pretty feasible to me, even if it will take quite some time to get there. So the Oasis serves as a pretty good point of reference. Let's take a minute to focus just on the hardware requirements of the metaverse. Eventually, there will be lots of different ways to interface with virtual environments, but I still think virtual reality headsets are absolutely critical here. From a casual observer's perspective, it can look like VR development has really stalled out over the past few years. In 2012, everyone in tech obsessed over the original Oculus Rift. Palmer Luckey was the perfect founder and quickly became the poster boy for all of VR, all while releasing dramatic improvements at a breakneck pace. Fast forward to 2021, and Facebook is still releasing new versions of the Oculus, but each iteration feels more incremental. They've only sold a few million of them, which is nothing compared to the nearly 3 billion people who use Facebook. But it's important to understand that Zuckerberg has a very particular strategy here. Because he's targeting such a large audience, he really isn't working on shipping ultra high-end headsets to the general public, but fortunately, other companies are. The VARIO XR3 is a great example of what's possible in VR when money isn't an issue. The headset costs $6,000 upfront and requires a $1,500 per year subscription on top of that. It's not made with average consumers in mind, but it's a great demonstration of where this technology is going. The first consumer Oculus launched in 2016 and has a resolution of a little over 1 megapixel per eye, which wasn't terrible, but it did lead to some clearly noticeable pixelation. The Oculus Quest 2, which came out last year, serves up about 3.5 megapixels per eye, which is roughly equivalent to 4K, but even that isn't enough for true immersion. The VARIO XR3, on the other hand, pushes well beyond this, by using multiple screens stacked on top of each other to deliver more than 11 megapixels per eye. These aren't perfect apples to apples comparisons, since there are tons of other factors that go into making a VR experience feel truly immersive, but it's a solid step forward. Just watch the reaction of this VR enthusiast.
I don't even know what to say. Everything looks so clear and so real. You have to try this.
This VARIO headset has LiDAR sensors and can be used for augmented reality as well. It also improves on field of view, which is a huge part of a good experience. The display of the second HoloLens from Microsoft covers only 52 degrees, and Snap's new AR glasses are only 26 degrees. This VARIO headset delivers 115 degrees of view, meaning that you can see more of your surroundings in your peripheral vision, which is key to immersion. Obviously, the average consumer isn't going to spend thousands of dollars on a VR headset anytime soon, but this tech will get cheaper, and when it does, we should see adoption start to climb. There are also a host of other technologies that need to improve before the metaverse really starts pulling people in. Even though Zuckerberg painted an incredibly optimistic picture of what this new focus might accomplish, it was John Carmack, the Chief Technology Officer of Oculus, that actually had the most valuable presentation during the Meta announcement. Even though Carmack works directly for Zuckerberg, he was very sober in his analysis.
I have been pretty actively arguing against every single metaverse effort. I want it to exist, but I have pretty good reasons to believe that setting out to build the metaverse is not actually the best way to wind up with the metaverse.
That's an interesting perspective, especially coming from someone who's been working at Facebook in VR for the last 7 years. But it makes sense. Because the metaverse is such a broad amalgamation of technologies, it's impossible for any one company to usher in the metaverse era alone. But that doesn't mean that a single company can't have a profound impact here and make a boatload of money in the process. I believe that Zuckerberg is basically trying to be the next Steve Jobs, and to do it, he needs his iPhone moment. The iPhone was a major turning point in ushering in the mobile era. There were tons of other companies that played important roles, but it was really the iPhone that brought everything together and served as the key turning point. And the history of Apple is really important here. In the 1980s, the Macintosh was struggling to compete with the IBM PC, and so the board of directors fired Jobs. He eventually rejoined Apple in 1997 and started working on new projects. Finally, in 2007, he announced the iPhone at the end of a keynote using his now famous line.
Wait a minute, there is one more thing. One more thing. But there is one more thing. But there is one more thing.
I think that there are a few interesting comparisons between Jobs and Zuckerberg worth discussing here. First is the redemptive story that Zuck is building around the metaverse. He's been the subject of intense negative attention for years now, and lots of people have been calling for him to step down. Fortunately for Zuck, he has complete control over the company and a very supportive board of directors. So I don't think we'll see a repeat of the Steve Jobs story play out exactly. But don't think for a moment that Zuck doesn't care what people think about him. He really does want to create products that are adored by users. 91% of people view Apple favorably, compared to just 71% for Facebook. And so he's on the hunt for a big win in the metaverse. It might be VR, it might be a new social platform, or it might be something entirely new. But Zuck is clearly restructuring the entire company to be able to try as many ideas as possible. I think this is a good strategy, but the messaging around Zuck's Meta announcement could not have been more different than Jobs' iPhone keynote, even though he borrowed the signature "one more thing" line.
There's one more thing that I want to tell you about today.
See, when Steve Jobs announced the iPhone, it was ready to ship. He wasn't talking about a far-off future where mobile phones were used daily by billions of people. In fact, the first iPhone didn't even have an app store, and Apple had been incredibly tight-lipped about the fact that they were working on a phone before the announcement. Jobs never mentioned how important mobile was going to be to Apple until they were ready to launch a polished product. And that's part of why it's so hard to nail down exactly when we'll hit the tipping point and be able to confidently say that we are in the metaverse era. There are so many different products and companies gradually improving technology and increasing immersiveness, but it might only be clear in retrospect what the key ingredients were. Even still, I think there are some interesting comparisons we can make to try and project metaverse adoption. First is VR headsets. This year, we should see about 6 million new sales, which will bring the total number of headsets out in the world up to 16 million units. That's still incredibly low. Remember, there are billions of internet users. But growth is high at 60% per year, and if it continues, we could see 1 billion headsets in circulation by 2030. You could also look at cryptocurrency adoption rates, since crypto will likely play a big role in the metaverse long term. Metamask is the fastest growing Ethereum wallet and a critical part of the DeFi ecosystem. There are millions of people who want nothing to do with Zuck's metaverse and will only accept a decentralized option. Metamask usage is a good proxy for the size of this audience, and it's growing even faster than VR. The wallet had 500,000 users in July of 2020 and just crossed 10 million users in August of 2021. That works out to an insane 20x annual growth rate, which is clearly unsustainable. But it doesn't seem crazy to think that we could see close to 1 billion cryptocurrency users by the end of the decade. Bitcoin is already used by over 100 million people after all. Lastly, we can look at Zuckerberg's plan specifically. He's aiming to deploy $180 billion over the next 10 years on the initiative, so he's obviously going to have some sort of impact. For reference, a senior Apple executive said that they spent only $150 million to develop the original iPhone. $180 billion is a staggering amount of money, truly unprecedented in the tech industry. If Meta winds up spreading that evenly over the next 10 years, they will be spending 50 times as much money as the entire Roblox team every single year. Zuckerberg clearly thinks he can have a meaningful impact in the next 10 years and has reconfigured his entire business to make something happen. We still don't know exactly what the next decade will have in store for the metaverse, but you can be sure that some interesting things will happen here. If you'd like to go a layer deeper, just drop your email at johncoogan.com, and please check out this recommended video, the YouTube out.
Alright, so now that you understand the metaverse a little bit more and stuff like that, how I like to look at it is, it goes into two little rabbit holes right there. There's AR and there's VR right there, and sense of VR and AR, I really look at it as two aspects. One aspect is you have a gaming aspect of it, and then AR is a business aspect in a short sense of it. If you look back at the movie Free Guy, I want to say Free Guy, it might be Fun Guy. I'm horrible, like I said, I'm not 100% fixed yet. Soon enough, hopefully, but anyways, if you look back at that movie, you have a virtual reality game, which is a meta game, using an artificial reality, an AR system. Well, with that being said, what you have in between it is a mixed reality. You actually have a game and a reality. So, what I see XYO World is it can go both directions, as the metaverse is not oriented in one direction. It is actually supposed to be Web 3. Well, if we look into Web 3, we can actually type in a Web 3 domain. Well, we'll type in loosales.crypto, as this is a Web 3 domain, and this will actually take you to technically our next topic. Our next topic is actually going to be the XYO unofficial Discord, which I technically don't got to click in none of that because technically I'm the owner of it. But anyways, with the XYO network, we have so much. We have a bridge involved down to diviners, archivists, sentinels, and there's one more. No, there's not. Divine archivist, bridge, and a sentinel. Sorry about that. It has been a very long day. But there's so many products that XYO is on the verge of releasing, and we are going to be discussing that on this last little leg as we are close to the 1 hour mark. I do apologize for the length of this video, but like I said, nobody else has really covered XYO, and it is about that time we go through covering XYO as F2A. 2FA, yeah, like I said, bad day, dyslexic. You can blame it on a lot of things, but this channel is about the XYO project that is about authentication. So they're already working on a two-step authentication process. You have the app. Now the app is just a remarkable outdated program that runs on version 1.0. But it is a very useful tool to learn. You can really learn with this tool. Quote unquote, I've got it to work. There's a video down below that proves it. But you got the coin app. The coin app I use daily. Collecting all day next to me. And don't get me wrong, just to prove it's a different device. I coin hard. I think coining is one of the best things. I don't coin like Dennis Rodman coins, but I do coin. We also got the Find It app, which I technically own as a Sentinel owner. I technically have Sentinel BLE, and I like to track my keys if I ever lose them. I got an application right there to track them, as you can see. Never lose anything important again. It's all right here for you. Like, honestly, bam! The XYO World, this is where it really gets fun at. Like, honestly, you can do so much. There's a little bit of a rule behind it, but there's so much that fuels it. Fuel is a very good thing for XYO World. Another thing that they're actually working on, and I cannot wait for it to come out, as this ties back into the way we quote unquote got into this Discord channel, is by typing in a Web3 domain. How I actually use this is using OAuth instead of a DAuth. It's a little bit different of a protocol, but XYO is actually working on their own. They want their own. They said, no, you guys like Web 3 and a Web 2 version? No, we want Web 3 and a Web 3 version. And then we got the nodes. Oh my god, we kind of touched a little bit on that earlier with this one right here that ain't popping up because honestly, it's right here. I'm an idiot. Like I said, I'm trying to get fixed. But, on this one. Darn. But anyways, most applications make it easy, or most chains make it easy, as XYO makes it a little bit harder. I did not have any because my computer has been freshly redone, but I will be getting my nodes back on here really soon. See, like I said, I recently redid it, and that's why I'm having problems. My containers are not opening up. But anyways, this is what a node is about. You build, and you build, and then you release for everybody in the community to enjoy. Nobody other than XYO has honestly built anything, and that is where XYO Network is kind of lacking at. And I kind of cry every day knowing that I have something so close. And what I want to do is an actual KYC. Crypto and KYC run hand in hand, and KYC and location data run hand in hand. So XYO and KYC are perfect handshake for each other, but that protocol is not the easiest to write. So moving on to locate. Like, they have a locate. They really want to make you be able to find your PlayStation 4 controller or your Bluetooth wireless speaker. Wow, bad day. Then you have the bridge edge, which honestly goes into so much detail. We can go into that today, but we will just make it very short and simple. Actually, here, we'll make it really short, really simple. Let me disconnect the monitor. Oh no, the power cord won't let me grab it. Damn it. Anyways, you buy a Raspberry Pi. Boom. You go download the actual hardware, the bridge. You read it. You download for the system you're on. And then you download a cool little tool called Belina Etcher. And honestly, you flash it to your drive. Very, very simple. And from there, you plug it into your Pi. You skip all these steps. That's what you're doing. Well, you plug it in, and it's going to ask you for a password, which it pretty much tells you your password right there. Type that in, and you're logged into your Pi. You can do all this fun stuff, but honestly, with 2.0, it's a lot longer than that. Fun stuff. But we're going a little bit off tune here, but there's so much that you can do. There truly is, and it really comes down to the people. And I really feel that XYO has done its job. And it really comes down to what they really have to show forth. Like as we walk into this next one, explore. You can actually check out the network open. And you can honestly view it to the fullest. All you have to do is know what you're looking at. If you actually know what you're looking at, you can find anything and everything about what's been sent through. Like, honestly. This one actually came from latitude and longitude. The accuracy is pretty goddamn cute. You got a heading and a latting. So he's heading south, I'm assuming. 79, longitude 77. So he's heading north. Cool. Awesome. See, I can do that by just looking on a certain little diviner. That's what this Explorer is it's actually a diviner. And a diviner is a good whereabout for any developer to put their stuff, and that's what we're really looking for is diviners. Companies or developers to actually have a place for this information to go. Like I said, I feel gaming is the best part of it, but it's back to what the network was about, and it's really about unspoofing. You're a project about not being able to spoof the network. It's really viable to make it work. Um, I said they got so many protocols that a lot of people are not looking into, as this projector is a cross-platform